Tired of the retrogression in EB2? You may be looking for alternatives for your green card plans. Hi, my name is Oscar and I'm a scientist, and today we're going to cover the green card category EB1A. Let's take a look at my other screen and let's start talking about this EB1A category. First of all, for those of you who typically watch my videos, you will notice that I have a slightly different template. I have now two websites. I have my regular eb2naw.info website, and now I have eb1greencard.info. I just released this website a couple of days ago, and you will see how it grows over time. And also in this channel, we're going to be spending more time covering this, not new, but this alternative green card category. What is EB1? EB1 is what I call a higher standard category. If EB2, particularly EB2NAW, talks about exceptional abilities, EB1 talks about extraordinary abilities, which for USCIS is a higher degree of expertise. Because of this, it attracts less applicants. Naturally, as you go up in qualifications, less people will be able to reach that higher standard, so there's less people submitting petitions, and that means less wait times than for EB2, particularly EB2NAW. This processing time difference has increased between EB2 and EB1 recently because of retrogression. If you don't know what is retrogression, you can watch this other video that I have where I explain what it is and how you can deal with it. And by the way, this is one of the ways you can deal with it, looking for alternatives like EB1. This category, EB1, is also particularly attractive to people from certain countries that are not favored in other categories. And I'm talking particularly for those of you who are Indian or Chinese. You know better than anyone that the US system of immigration penalizes people from India and China because of how the country quotas work, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So EB1 is better positioned in terms of being Indian and Chinese than EB2. EB1 premium processing is shorter than EB2, it's just 15 business days compared to EB2NAW, which is 45 business days. And most importantly, EB1A is one of the subcategories of EB1, allows for self-petitioning, just like EB2NAW, National Interest Waiver, and that makes it extremely appealing to all of us who are looking to immigrate in the United States, particularly those who are highly qualified. So let's take a look a little bit deeper into why EB1 may be attractive. Like I said, you can self-petition. That means that you don't need an organization, a company sponsoring you. That means that there's no PERM. PERM or labor certification is the first step that all the employment-based green cards have. And that takes about, let's say, almost a year at the very best, in the very best case, and sometimes even more than a year to complete that first part of the process. But for EB1A and EB2NAW, those two categories where you can self-petition, you don't need that labor certification. So you directly go to filing your I-140 petition, and then if approved, you can do either an adjustment of status if you're in the US or apply to consular processing in your embassy or consulate abroad. Okay, so you will save basically 1/3 of the process. Why EB1 has less applicants than other categories? Like I said, there's less applicants because the standard is higher, and the way the US system works, there's a system of quotas for countries, but also quotas for each of the categories, and there's 5 employment-based categories. This is a screenshot for any visa bulletin, you can go and check it out. And the first employment base, which is EB1, and EB1A is part of this, will take 28.6% of the total employment-based green cards each year. Plus, it will take any visa numbers available that were not required for EB4 and EB5. Okay, so it has that almost 30% and sometimes even more. And that together with the fact that maybe there's some leftover green cards not used that will go to EB1 makes it really, really interesting for us. And consider that EB2, that has many more applications, has the same percentage plus whatever is left over from EB1. So it trickles down, and EB1 is on the top of the pyramid, so it will always be benefited by any leftover green cards available. In practical terms, what does it mean when I say there's less waiting time? So let's take a look at an example from the Visa Bulletin from May 2023, so really recent. I mean, actually, we're still in April, so it's in the future. So if we look at the row for EB1, which includes EB1A, and if we look at the row for EB2, which includes EB2 and IW, we see, for example, that for most countries, which is the first column, EB1 is current. That means that you can file together an adjustment of status with your I-140. And for EB2, you have to wait a little bit over a year between filing your I-140 and filing an adjustment of status. So that's already a difference. But if you look at countries like China, for example, we see that the difference is 3-4 years. If we look at India, the difference between EB1 and EB2 is over a decade. That's why for Indian-born citizens, EB1 makes a lot more sense if you can qualify, okay? And it all goes back to if you can qualify, of course. So let's take a look at what do you need to consider this EB1 category, this EB1A category. You need 3 things, and within those 3 things we'll expand a little bit, and in future videos we'll talk even deeper about it. The first thing you need is, and the most important one, the one that it will take most of your I-140 petition, is you need to qualify as a person of extraordinary abilities in the field. And in practical terms, that will mean that you will meet at least 3 out of the 10 criteria that USCIS publishes in their manual. I have a slide showing you all those 10 criteria. Then you need also to enter the US, or prove that you will enter the US to continue the work in your field of endeavor. So you cannot just prove that you are extraordinary, that you have extraordinary skills on something, but you also have to prove that you intend to do the work in that particular field, okay? And number 3, and this is somewhat similar to the national importance of the EB2 and IW category, whatever you are planning to do in the US needs to positively impact the United States of America. It needs to substantially benefit the country as a whole. And so your I-140 petition, which we will cover in different videos, how to put together a good petition for this category, it will need to target these 3 aspects, these 3 criteria. But let's today, because it's an introductory video, let's take a look at number 1, because it's really the one that it will take more time in your write-up. Okay, so what are those 10 criteria out of which you need to meet at least 3? Okay, let's go one by one. We will not take a lot of time, but we'll cover all of them at least. So number 1 is you can show that you have received an award or more than one awards, either national awards or internationally recognized prizes or awards related to your field of endeavor. So for example, if you're a physicist, the award should be on something related to your research on physics. If you are an athlete, that award needs to be on, or maybe is on a competition that you won or something like that. It cannot be in something different. The second criteria is having a membership in societies or associations in your field that demand outstanding achievements of their members. So in NIW, you could show a membership in a professional association, but here you have to go beyond that. That society, that association cannot just accept anyone. you need to prove that they only accept people that are excellent in what they do. The third criteria is to have published material about you in any publication that is considered reputable in your field. So maybe a publication from a society in your field that has an article featuring your accomplishments in the field. That's a perfect example. Okay, if you have been asked to judge the work of others, and that's number 4, either as an individual or on a panel. And an example of that is if you're a scientist and you have been asked to review for peer-reviewed journals, particularly if those journals are very high in the impact factor, very reputable journals. Or if you are a member of another profession, you have been asked to judge a competition in a professional congress or conference. Okay, that's another good example. Number 5 is if you can show that you have produced original contributions in your field that have been significant, that have been used by others. For example, if you have patents, if you have scientific papers, if you have book chapters, and you can prove that they have been used by others to produce more material important for your field. Number 6 is similar, is authorship of scholarly articles in professional or trade publication. So number 5, the one that I just read, talks more about your contributions to the field, and number 6 specifies more about articles, about publications. So I'm going to correct a little bit what I said. Number 5 is more, tell me what you have done in terms of projects and how they have been important, very significant for the field. And typically you prove that through letters of recommendation and other ways as well. And number 6 talks more specifically about book chapters, scientific articles, and so on. Number 7, if your work has been displayed at any important exhibition or showcase somewhere that is, again, prestigious in your field. So, for example, if you are an artist and you have gone to the country's more important exhibitions, okay, and your work has been displayed there, that's a good example. Number 8 is if you have performed or you are performing a leading role in distinguished organizations. And this is not just any organization. This is not if you are a manager in any company. This is if you are really a leader in really important companies, for example, the Googles, the Amazons of the world, Microsoft, etc. Or the MIT, you are a professor in a reputable university. It doesn't have to be in the US, by the way. It can be anywhere, but it has to be comparably important. Number 9 is if you command or commanded a higher salary or remuneration compared to others in your field, compared to your peers. And this is something that I also recommend using in NIW. So when you are paid more than others with similar experience in the same geographical location, that means for USCIS that you are extraordinary, that you are above average. And number 10 is commercial success in the performing arts. So if you're an artist, if you are someone that can show that commercial success, that people really are interested and pay for what you do, that is additional proof or can show that you are a person of extraordinary abilities in the field. All these criteria come from the USCIS policy manual, and I leave a link here, but I'll also leave a link in the comments below. Very highly recommended site to take a look at carefully. All right, so while we are at it, and this is just a break in the presentation, I do have a new website that I will show you in a second, but I already have something very important on that website, which is a sample I-140 petition. You can download that the same way you could download the I-140 from my case in EB1AW.info for EB1AW. In this case, it's an EB1A sample petition, so you can see how a real case looks like, and you can start working on your own case. Let's take a quick look at my new website so I can brag a little bit about it. Okay, so here it is, eb1greencard.info. So right now it's still, like I say, sprouting, is just starting up, and you will find the homepage here with a little bit of figures about the work I have been doing in the recent months with EB1AW. And here in this section, you will be able to read all the free information the same way I do with eb1aw.info. Okay, and the section where you can download the petition is in downloads, obviously, and it will take a second to load. I think I have to improve that, the speed of this site. And very soon I will also have an adjustment of status package, so whoever wants to come here and work on their case in a do-it-yourself fashion, they can do it from the beginning to the very end. If you're in the US, you will need to adjust your status, so I will help you with that as well. I also offer one-on-one calls the same way I do for EB1AW. You can come here and take a look at it, and soon I will start offering also petition review services like I do for EB1AW. And remember, the typical disclaimer is that I am not a lawyer, I'm a scientist, so nothing of what I do here, nothing of what you read is for immigration legal purposes, is for educational and motivational purposes only. But of course, I want it to be as helpful as possible, and I think by now I received a lot of feedback from people telling me how helpful the materials have been for EB1AW, so I do expect that this will be very similar. So continuing with the presentation, we are getting to the end. What are the first steps that you should follow if you're interested on EB1? Well, the number one is read, read, and read, or watch, watch, and watch. Educate yourself as much as you can. The number one resource, I always say, is not my website, is not somebody else's website, is USCIS website, because it's the official source of information. In another video, I will show you in detail those parts of USCIS website, but I will leave a couple of links in this video in the description. One is a site that talks about EB1 in general, which comprises of EB1A, B, and C. We always talk about EB1A because it's the one that you can self-petition. And the other site that I really like is the policy manual. I feel it's not as good as for EB1AW, but it's still very valuable, and in a separate video I'll show you why. Then follow by watching YouTube channels like this one or others, and taking a look at other websites, for example the one I just showed you, eb1greencard.info. After you're done educating yourself, you want to understand if you qualify, and I recommend that you focus especially on those 10 criteria from which you need to have at least 3, but if you can have more than 3, it will be better for your case, for your chance of success. Start organizing documents, anything related to those criteria that you want to fulfill. Start knowing where the materials are, start organizing in folders to make it easier for you in the future when you start writing. Polish your profile if you need to. Sometimes we don't meet those 10 criteria, no, those 3 out of 10 criteria, but we're close to a couple of them. So we can do certain things in our career to position ourselves better, maybe 1 year from now, 2 or 3 years from now. So start working on that. Start seeing, anticipating the future, okay? And finally, we'll cover more in the next videos. What are those next steps after you are convinced that you qualify and you want to start building your case? I will show you in the following videos what you need to do. So the conclusions for today's video is that EB1 is an attractive option for highly qualified professionals. I would add for Chinese and Indians, particularly for the reasons I described earlier. EB1A is a way to self-petition, and you can file for yourself, the case by yourself, without a company and without lawyers if you want to. And we will continue covering this green card category here in this channel and also on my new website. But I have a question for you. What do you want to see in this channel about EB1A? What particular topics you want to cover? We have months ahead of us for talking about EB1. I will not abandon EB2 and AW. I will continue as well, but definitely we have much more material to cover now for EB1. So let me know your thoughts right here below. All right, so that's it for today. I really thank you for being here 1 week more with me, and I wish you the best of the green card journeys if you are trying for EB1, but also if you are trying for EB2 and AW or any other type of green card category. Thank you.